So when you're moving a relationship forward with a woman, if you don't want to get stuck in the, he's a fun guy, but I just don't see a future with him, or I'm attracted to him, but there's something missing. One of the most important things that you need to do is create a feeling of closeness with her, where she feels like she's revealing things about herself to you that she normally doesn't do with other guys. See, very often as a guy, we're trying so hard to make her laugh or to look cool to her that we wind up ignoring the fact that the closer we feel to someone, the more we can't imagine not having them in our lives, which nowadays is pretty critical because a girl is often talking to multiple different guys from Tinder or wherever. So you have to get her investing in you, and sharing personal things is a powerful way to do this. So in this video, I want to give you 7 questions that you can use to escalate the personal intimacy she feels with you and make her feel a stronger bond that makes her want to see you again, that makes it hard for her to disappear. Hi, I'm Bobby Rio, and rule number 1 for hanging out with a woman or being on a date with her is this: avoid interview mode. Interview mode is when the two of you just kind of go back and forth with questions, and it feels like if you don't ask another question, you'll run out of things to say, and there'll just be this awkward, unbearable silence. As a natural introvert, for me, that awkward silence always was my biggest fear. For me, asking questions became a lifeline, kind of like a crutch, and one that killed attraction with quite a lot of girls that had initially seemed into me. See, attraction is based on emotions, and these are the emotions that you're feeling when you're with someone. So if a woman is with you and she's having fun, and she feels a connection. By connection, what I mean is she's expressing her personality in a raw, unfiltered way, and you're responding positively to her. And there's an intimacy between you and her where you're holding eye contact a little longer than normal. You're both getting comfortable, touching each other a little bit. You're saying things that are crossing past that friendly, platonic line. When you're doing that, she's feeling all 3 of these things, she's gonna feel attraction. Now, here's why interview mode is so deadly to attraction, because it prevents this vibe from occurring between you and her. It feels like a job interview. That's why we call it interview mode, right? Or sometimes even like an interrogation. Not to mention that asking and answering questions, it really isn't that fun. And even though you might be learning facts about each other's lives, she doesn't feel like she's expressing her personality, and she also doesn't feel like she's getting to know your real personality. And there's almost zero intimacy when you're just trading information back and forth. What do you do for a living, huh? Oh, where did you grow up? How many siblings do you have? What's your favorite band? I mean, I'm bored just asking these questions. Does answering any of those questions make you like someone or feel attraction toward them? Probably not, but these are the questions most of us ask. These questions just remind you that the two of you have nothing else to talk about. You want to create the illusion of rapport, almost like you're talking to her like you've known her for years, like she's an old friend. So avoiding this is something that I tell every guy I work with, and I tell them how you can use stories or teasing her or making observations about people or things going on around you to keep that conversation flowing instead of boring questions. But see, there's a difference between boring questions and questions that escalate personal disclosure and the closeness she feels with you. And personal disclosure is important if you want a woman to fall in love. In fact, studies show that the more that we reveal about ourselves to someone, the more we open up to them and share things that we haven't shared with anyone else, the more attraction we begin to feel for them. It's kind of a hack. Now, full disclosure, connection is only one element. And if all you do is focus on connection and personal disclosure and ask the type of questions I'm gonna give you, you could easily wind up in the friend zone or even the therapist zone. But when you mix in these personal disclosure questions that I'm about to give you with teasing and flirting and intimacy, she's way more likely to want to see you again, to be attracted. Now, I want to give you some of these questions, and also I want to explain how to use them so they feel natural to the conversation, right? If I just gave you these and you went out and used them, it would be bad. This is a good skill to learn because it helps you keep a conversation going as you'll begin to use more topics to move from thread to thread, right? You'll also see how you can use more generic or general topics to move towards something personal. Okay, so here's an example of a question that escalates personal disclosure and gets her expressing herself to you. Would you like to be famous? In what way? Now, if you randomly come out and ask that, it's very close to what we recommend against. And also it can feel a bit like a gimmick, right? Where it feels like he watched a video and it told him to ask me this question, which we definitely don't want her to feel that. So to avoid that, you'll want to tie it into something that you already were talking about. So if she mentions that she went to the Taylor Swift concert recently, after she tells you a little bit about it, you could say something like, man, I couldn't imagine being as famous as she was. When I was young, I really wanted to be famous. I wanted to be this professional wrestler, and I imagined like going all over the world and everybody knowing who I am. I'm glad that didn't work out. What about you? Would you like to be famous? If you could be famous for anything in the world, what would it be? It's all about the transition. See how you transition? I was in Vegas last week. I saw the Michael Jackson Circus of Olay show. Can you imagine being as famous as Michael Jackson was? And then just transition into the question. Here's another question. What do you value most in a friendship? Again, that could come across like interview mode if you don't segue into it naturally. This is what I'm really trying to get across here. A lot of times you can do it by introducing and answering the question yourself as part of a story. Yeah, I was in Vegas with my friend Brian. Actually, I just met him through work, but did you ever meet somebody and know instantly like, we're gonna be friends? For me, it's rare, but the times that it does happen, it's really cool. It's like, this is someone that I know I'm going to be hanging out a lot with. And she might go, yeah, that's how it was with my friend Colleen. And then you move into the question, oh, that's cool. So what do you value most in a friendship, or what makes a good friend to you? See, it's very easy when you do it right. So here's a few more questions I think do a good job of getting her to escalate personal disclosure without being cheesy or coming across like a question that you like got out of some dating 101 book. What's one of your most embarrassing moments? I love that one because it usually allows you to both laugh a bit. You can usually even tease her a little bit about it, have fun with it. A good way to segue it is if you're about to tell a slightly embarrassing story yourself, be like, I'm gonna tell you this story, but it's an embarrassing one. So you're gonna have to promise me that you're gonna tell me one next. Here's another one. What's your favorite memory from when you were a kid? So I always say childhood memories are one of the best topics to grow a connection with a girl, especially if you have some funny anecdotes that allow you to express your personality in a humorous way. Here's one. If you could wake up tomorrow having gained any one quality or ability, what would it be? So let's say I told her earlier that I wanted to be a professional wrestler when I was a kid, but I wasn't strong enough. And when I was a kid, I used to work out and every night, and then I would go to bed and I would pray that I would wake up strong so that I could beat Hulk Hogan in a match. What about you? See how easy it is. Here's a good question. So given the choice of anyone in the world, who would you want to have dinner with? Or what would be your perfect day? So another way that you could naturally ask a question like these are to ask them as a question to something that she's telling you or something that she says. So maybe she says something like, I love snowboarding. I look forward to the winter all year just so I can finally be up in the mountain. You can say, yeah, would that be your perfect day? If not, what would be? Now, the ones that I just gave you were good examples of ones that you can use, but really anything that gets her opening up to you about things that she usually doesn't share with someone, especially a guy early on, will increase the closeness that she feels with you. So how many of these questions do you need to ask? Because this is kind of important. I would look to use 2, maximum 3 of these over the course of a date, and only when you can introduce them naturally. If you do more than that, or if you try to shoehorn them in unnaturally, she's gonna feel like you're using a gimmick on her, and it'll actually have the opposite effect, and she'll feel less of a bond towards you. Now, here's the thing with these questions. They work best when you're mixing them in with conversation that is fun and intimate, these other elements that we talked about. Ideally, you want to create what I call the funny, flirty, touchy-feely vibe with a woman. And if you're not sure how to do it, or you have trouble keeping that vibe going, I put together a collection of 77 different techniques for sparking that vibe. I'm gonna put a link to that below, because really it's about things like storytelling and humor. Now, obviously you don't need to use 77 different techniques, but always having 3 or 4 of them ready when the conversation hits the lull, or maybe you sense the conversation is too serious or too friendly and you wanna move things to the next level. Each of the techniques will help you move things forward with a girl and keep that vibe going. So if you combine that sort of stuff that I linked to below with the kind of questions here, you're developing a more well-rounded interaction with a woman. And it's as close to giving her the blueprint of what she wants as you're gonna get in terms of fun, intimacy, connection. Mixing those 3 together over the course of a date is your best shot at creating the attraction that she needs to feel. So if you have any questions, leave me a comment below. If you like this video, hit like, subscribe to my channel, and again, let me know what you'd like to see in upcoming videos.